Alrighty then, my dudes. Are you ready for the finale of MotorStorm? As which this is officially going to be our final event of the game, and suitably enough, it is a self-entitled event, same as the game itself, where we're going to the Grizzly and we can basically use any vehicle we want. And well, just because I want to get this one patch of liveries over and done with on this thing, the machine I'm going to use for our last race of the game will officially be the Patriot Searcher. And as for the paint scheme, well, I want to use this because I want to. Also, because it basically reminds me of the LAPD. Yeah, let's do this. This is the big one. The last MotorStorm. You're an expert in every vehicle now, so choose the one you love the most and make this one to remember. It's been a blast. Well, a suitable conclusion to what is, ironically, a pretty good game. And of course I will explain the game's problems in the outro, but first off, let's get the final race of this game done with, and then we can jump towards the conclusions and do the usual 5 or 6 minute sign off, coming up with an overall summary of this game, and suitably it is Under the Sunset. Fuck me, this game does not want to go down quietly. It's really becoming a bitch in this final race. That's literally just how fucking insane I think this is. I don't even think I can drive properly anymore. Well, might as well take to the high side whilst I'm here. Okay, now I'm restarting. Fuck this. Okay, so I think instead of going straight on this time, I'm going to take to the right-hand side. Because I think this is more or less what the preferable route is for me to stay out of trouble. Even though I'm pretty sure trouble will still find me, even if I do my best to avoid it. And apparently, I now already rest my case because my car, once again, looks like shit. So, trying my best to keep it at damage limitation as much as I can, but even that at the moment is proving to be a challenge because I'm basically racing against opponents who are totally apathetic about whatever decisions I make, and the truth is, there is just no avoiding the carnage whatsoever. Unless I miss it by inches. Which is basically how I've managed to avoid the AI's tumultuous errors so many times. As I now lead to beginning the first lap here at the Grizzly, I'm not taking the shortcut because that does not help me. Fortunately, I can see where I'm going this time, and suitably, we are racing under the sunset. Which means that, at the very least, I can say that I am managing to try and go for the win. Even then, of course, if most of my attempts appear to be futile, regardless of how much I try to be the juvenile success. Again, there was no avoiding that. I tried my best to avoid it, but in the end I just chose not to. Because there was no point in preventing the inevitable. At least I can say I let the AI into the first lap this time, so maybe the end of this game will not be a total bitch. And maybe if it's possible, I will actually get to see what happens when I complete the game before it crashes on me again. Because it's done that frustratingly and frequently. And I do use both of those words hyperbole because I know that's precisely what this game has done to me. It's probably crashed on me so many times by now, it's almost a miracle to say how my system is still running. Because of the high quality renderations, basically causing this game to crash basically every couple of segments, and will probably crash again before I can do the conclusion. I mean, there's basically just so much high fidelity renderation in this game, it's almost unthinkable to assume this game, with all of its high definition progressive scan fixtures, that it won't crash on me again before I do the outro. And apparent as it might be, these AI still end up trying to tumultuously destroy me, whether I'm in front or behind them. Because I just cannot avoid the conflict, no matter what I do. They will get me involved in it somehow, whether it's because of me or if it's because of them. They will still get me involved in that shit. And they will basically rip my arms off like bear claws. And yes, I am using bear claws as the example. Don't criticize me for my choices. But yeah, they're basically scratching me like they're wearing bear claws. Like they're literally just wanting to ferociously rip my arms off. Every time I'm actually racing. Okay, I managed to minimize the jumps on that front stretch. The straight. Oh, that could have been a lot worse. Oh, that could have been a lot worse than it turned out to be. Although I pretty much won here using more or less every sort of vehicle I can use, so I just figured I would use this because, well, like I said before, for the purpose of classic American muscle. And at the moment it doesn't look as though this is going to be a win. Because these AI seem to be too chaotically evil to make it so I can actually win this race. Either that, or it's just because I keep destroying myself. And everyone else along with me. Because these AI are just too chaotically good for their too chaotically evil for their own good. Like I said before, they're basically cannibals. And it's basically the cannibals which I am trying to beat. If I manage to beat them. Which I think is the big if. That's a big if, by the way. If I do manage to beat him, then I will be amazed. Anyways, they're on to the front stretch. Can I manage to beat him somehow? Even though it is going to be clearly a miracle if I do manage to beat him, but anyways, yeah. Can I beat these AI? And come on. Yes, I can! By the skin of my teeth. fuck? Did not think I was gonna do it that time. I literally thought for sure I made too many mistakes for this to be a race-winning run, and then lo and behold, there it was. It somehow became a race-winning run amidst all of the chaos. That was unbelievable. And just like that, I already destroyed my car in the post-race. Although I think in F1 there was once a car that caught fire once it made to the Parc Fermé. I think it was Brazil 03 when that happened, when Giancarlo Fisichella was effectively declared the winner until his car caught fire in Parc Fermé. Now that, of course, was obviously a race decided under hugely controversial circumstances, and ironically enough, as YouTube claims, the 03 Brazilian Grand Prix is claimed to be the most insane F1 race of all time. A race where basically everything that could happen did happen. And that's more or less what the jurisdiction was at the end. Effectively saying, of course, that Eddie Jordan had ultimately got his fourth and final win as a team owner. And they only had 3 winners as well. First of those being Damon Hill, the second one being Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who won 2 races in 1999, I think it was, and Giancarlo Fisichella won Jordan's final race in Brazil 03, before the team had basically folded completely in 2005. But yeah, that's basically what happened to Jordan. Anyways, and ironically the Jordan team is now known as Aston Martin, even though it's had many different name changes and leadership changes over the years. So, this is the final classification order. So, won by 7/10 of a second over Doc Hock in the the Lunatic Asylum, I think that is. Anjou finishes in 3rd in the Voodoo Rattler, and then we had Pitas in the first of the big rigs, followed by Salim Siwani on the first of the ATVs, and then BD Marsden finishes 6th in the first racing truck, and then Robbie T finishes 7th in the first mud plugger. How ironic to say it's the Bulldog. Anyways, Yoshina 8th, followed by Josh Kirkland in the Ronin. Then we had Plumpton in 10th position. Rachel Norton finishes 11th ahead of Jakar Rickson. Juliet Bayliss was 13th in the Patriot Renegade. Then we had Pasha Spatner 14th, and then in 15th and last in the pink. Don't know what that one is, but anyways, in a pink big rig, Daniela Charm finishes in last. And overall, a total of 20 seconds from 1st to 15th. I had a feeling that was going to be a hugely chaotic race that somehow in the end I ended up winning. And, oh, we get the credits. That's good to know. Alright. So, there we go. And that, my friends, was the final race of MotorStorm. And overall, just gonna prove it to you in showing that I have completed all 21 tickets. And it's official. 21 out of 21 tickets complete. A perfect score on all of the tickets, and an overall score of 2,340 points scored overall. we are officially 100% complete with this game overall. So there we go, dudes and gals. Another game is done, and this is officially the completion of game number 11 since I restarted this channel. And so, now I'm going to do a quick sign off. No, I'll just stick to where I was. Yeah, I'll just stick to where I was. Anyways. Okay, so, many people were wondering, once Evolution's WRC contract expired in 2005, if they were ultimately going to blend in with the release of the PlayStation 3 the way they did. And ultimately, it has to be said, they definitely exceeded expectations in terms of knowing if what they could do was create a solidly good game to basically come as a counter-reaction towards developing themselves into the future. And overall, this would prove to be a successful gaming franchise, to say the least. And ironically, this was also one of the first ever video games to be produced, of course, with this much high renderation regarding quality. And, as well as that, it was also one of the first games to be released under PlayStation 3 exclusivity, basically being released exclusively for the PlayStation 3. And it has to be said, this game definitely has its fair share of challenges, and of course, to those of you who just want to have fun with this game, I don't recommend you go for all gold like I did, because, well, some of these I do not want to go over again as a result of that. But I will admit, this game, it does have its hit and miss issues in certain areas, as of which the main one, of course, is, well, because of the high definition quality in renderation with the PlayStation 3 itself, ultimately it was more or less prone to crashing quite a lot, and I will admit that is notifiable. And another thing that I can notify about this game is basically the monotony amongst the vehicles, amongst the colour schemes of the vehicles we can use. And also, furthermore, there are some DLC packs, but unfortunately I have to pay for those, and I am officially not prepared to show those off, but, you know, if you want to show those off, then please be my guest. Also, another thing they did not necessarily think to implement in terms of weather conditions and the changing times of when these races are held is basically rain conditions. I think in a way that could have been something which could have had an implementation with this game, even then, of course, if it rarely ever rains in the desert. But, you know, I'm basically just spitballing with that suggestion. So yeah, I will admit, it does have a couple of problems in certain areas, but the main ones I basically had were the number of times this game crashed, which was quite frequently, and as well as that, of course, I do wish there was just a little bit more variety in the colour schemes of each of the vehicles, because we can only really choose 3 colour schemes for each vehicle we use before entering a race. And to those of you who are wondering when I'll get started with the succeeded to this game, Pacific Rift, well, I will get on with that later on in the year, but ultimately, for now, I think I'm just gonna sit with it and think about when I'm gonna play that game, because for now, I've just played through 2 long games up to this point, and ultimately the next one I'm going to be doing is basically a short game compared to the previous 2 I've done. And it's also going to be a PlayStation 2 game, so yeah. But overall, I have to admit, this is a solidly good game, and in terms of me recommending it to anyone who has a PlayStation 3, I would say yes. I would absolutely recommend this game. This game is pretty awesome. Anyways, so all I can really say now is thanks, of course, as ever, to everyone for watching. It's deeply appreciated, as always, to everyone who does choose to view my content day in, day out. And also to those of you who choose to view my content outside of the Cars games, which is also appreciative. And I shall see you guys next time for the beginning of game number 12, which will probably not be too long. Also, furthermore, this game took me just about 3 weeks to complete. Or 20 days. More or less 3 weeks, but yeah. So anyways, I am Jordan Mustang 87. Thanks for watching this Let's Play, and I shall see you in the start of game number 12. So long from MotorStorm.